Hi there, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. Thanks so much for joining today to talk about stationery, and specifically today the Hobonichi Weeks. I thought it might be fun to just talk a little bit about how I used the Hobonichi Weeks a lot last year, and just my thoughts on it, and just show you a little bit of how I used it. It's very similar to how I've been using the Sterling Ink Common Planner as well this year, but I thought it'd be fun to flip through. So this is the Hobonichi Weeks Mega. It's the Sneaker Weeks, and it has the flimsy cover, which I really like, and I like that it's paperback, and it's just so soft and squishy. I have not looked at all yet. I keep meaning to, but I just haven't yet. Looked up the Hobonichi preview information that they've been releasing this month. I should get on and look. I also should not get on and look because I don't want to be tempted. I did buy, I have it lying here somewhere in my pile next to me, but I would probably knock over my pile of planners. We'll see if I can get it out. I did happen to buy the Sneaker Weeks for this year. I think I got it on Amazon towards the beginning of the year when I was still trying to decide. I say that like it was past tense, when I was still trying to decide what planner to use, but obviously if you've been here and watched any of my other videos, that's an inconclusive project for me, is deciding and making a decision on a planner. So back at the beginning of the year, when I was still considering which planner to use, I bought the Sneaker Weeks off Amazon. In the past, I've bought them directly from Hobonichi, which is super fun because you get the pen. I don't have the pen this year that comes with it, so that makes me a little sad, but we'll see. It's kind of, I'll just dig into it here and talk a little bit about it as I go. So this I can't even remember what the other color was in 2024. It'll come to me, and I think I probably have one at home. I only have one with me tonight. I should have packed my other ones for the year, but I did pretty well sticking to the Hobonichi Weeks all of last year. I obviously didn't do it perfectly. I have some pages in here where I wrote in other planners. I did have some Sterling Ink last year as well that I toyed with all year and went back and forth in. But the Hobonichi Weeks Mega was my predominant planner for all of 2024. So the same concept that I do now. I never actually filled this in. I always have high hopes that I fill it in. I have filled it in a little bit in my pocket Sterling Ink this year. I've been sort of tracking. I did better at the beginning of the year and it's gone downhill, but sort of tracking like YouTube followers or Instagram followers, so that's fun to see. And as you can imagine, if you've watched any of my other videos, I didn't ever actually fill in any of the monthlies for the whole year. I did write the word books. I obviously thought I should write down what books I should read that month, and I'm pretty sure I did read some books that month, but I never wrote them down. Oh, I did write one down that month, maybe. I didn't start audiobooks until later in 2024 when I realized I'm in the car so much driving to sports out of town that I should start audiobooks. So I did get through a lot more books the second half of last year because a portion of them were on audio. And I was reading The Hunger Games, which is a side tangent story that my kids are sick of me telling people when I meet them, because I read Hunger Games when I was probably in my 20s, and then have kids now, and I have my oldest, he's now 15, but a few years ago when he started reading The Hunger Games, I was so excited for him to read it, and he got to the third book, and I kept asking him about it, and I kept not really knowing what he was talking about. And I kept thinking, what happens in the third book? I had zero recollection of what happened. I remembered what happened at the end of the second book, but I could not remember what happened in the third book at all, or how they wrapped it up, or moved on from any of the first two books. And then I started rereading the third book I read the first 2 books again, and then I started reading the 3rd book, and as I read it, I realized I never actually read the 3rd book. So I'm over here telling my son to read these books because they're so great, and 10 years later, I finally realized I never actually read the 3rd book in my 20s when I thought I read the whole trilogy. So it's kind of fascinating what my brain seems to remember and not remember. So anyway, Hunger Games, great books. You should read them. And I liked this idea, and I haven't kept up with it this year. I need to go back, but I would write when I started a book. So that I started Mockingjay and then finished. I put a little F there for finished, and then I started the next book and wrote that down. So that's about all I tracked in the first few months. And then I only used this actual book for 4 months, because similarly to if you've seen my other videos about the pocket planner, my plan was to use 4 of these for the year. I would use a new one every 3 months because I like to keep my planning and my journaling together. At this point, I've lately been toying with separating it, but I haven't separated it. So it's kind of, I have some planner pages that don't get used because I switch it up, but that's okay. So I did write one tournament, potentially in pencil. I only ever wrote in pencil because I, again, can't seem to make a decision about how to write in the monthly pages, whether I use ink, colored ink, pencils, pen, highlighters. And it's kind of sad because I realize it, and you'd think I would just implement it now because I can see in hindsight that I wish these were filled in. They would be super fun if they were filled in. So even if they were sloppy or not consistent from one month to the next, like if this month I used highlighters and the previous month I used colored pens, I wouldn't care now. So I just need to keep that in mind and just start using the monthlies. But part of why I don't use it is because I just would rarely reference it, probably. So if I use them, it would only be for, memories to look at later, unless I proactively get better at using monthlies to future plan. But a lot of our activities are in my digital calendar or in the apps that they use for the sports. So then the Hobonichi Weeks, if you're familiar with it, it starts the last week of November, the previous year. So this is November of 2023. Which I know so many people love, and I love the idea too, but I like to have the whole year in one book. In one book, I mean one section of books or one set of books. And so to start in November or December in a new book, in a new set of books for the new year, I don't know that I love that for myself personally. So then I feel like I have these set of weeks that are blank, but I had intentions of going back and filling them in for December. And I never got around to it. I was actually just reading a journal entry before I filmed this about how I plan to go back and fill it in, and I never did. So you can see I have pencil here again where I was just toying with, that one I was backfilling to see how it looked. And I just had different ideas of how to try using it. At one point I had the whole left column was just activities, and then the right column would be a to-do list for that day. And then a general to-do list for the whole week. And I filled it in more here where I have, the schedule and the to-do list. Obviously, I had no to-dos that week somehow magically. And what my to-do list was for that whole week, and then my gratitude journaling, I did well that week, keeping it there. So, and then it went downhill. As I was flipping through this, I could see that I did not use the weeklies that often at the beginning of 2024. So I've gotten better for sure of filling them in, and I just tried different layouts as I went. And I got, here's a to-do list. I broke it down, made boxes for the day for the to-do list that way. Thought it seemed fun initially. I don't think I loved it by the end. I like this one the best because this is what I do now in my pocketbook. Is I have a column for each kid of their activities for the day, and then a general to-do list for that week, or I'm sorry, for each day. broken out. I did a lot of pencil, it looks like, to outline things because I probably was afraid to commit. And I guess I said I didn't do very well filling it in, but maybe I did better than I thought I did. I have some missing weeks. And then I randomly used my weekly for how I use my Bible journaling. I'm not really sure what I was doing that week. I think because I was in a slump of not using my weeklies, I must have decided to do that. So I wrote, what I read in the Bible, and then gratitude journaling in the right side, and then on the far right page I would plan to do prayer journaling. And so a lot of blank pages in the weeks. And then here's like my attempt at a habit tracker that didn't, or a habit tracker / to-do list, because I wrote Dick's returns, which I wasn't gonna obviously do every day or track that habit. So maybe it was like a habit tracker / rolling weekly of to-dos. We'll go with that. We'll say it was a great idea. And then here I had the idea to use a highlighter to identify unique things that stood out for the week. As I've mentioned multiple times in videos, the kids' schedule I pretty well have memorized because it's so routine every week that I don't really need to reference anything to look at like practice schedules, because I have those all in my brain. So like I have practices all written out, but then I highlighted things that stood out that were different for that kid for that week, like a spelling test, or I had to take some kids home from school one day, a band concert. So I highlighted those because obviously I don't have a band concert every week, or they used to have spelling tests every week, and then they changed it the last couple of years, which was nice, not doing spelling every week, but drove me bonkers to have a random spelling test on a Tuesday. It used to be on Fridays consistently, so you'd remember to study for it by Friday, but then they were just randomly thrown into the schedule, and we never knew when they were coming because I am not super great at reading emails thoroughly from the school. I like to skim them, so I obviously miss things. So I would just highlight things that stood out. And I did really small columns here. I think I was just doing like events for that day rather than a to-do list. So still 3 kids activities, and then this was a general event for the family. This week was kind of fun. I've seen people do this where they turn it sideways, and I just wanted to see how that looked, because I used to use a Hobonichi cousin as well, and in the weekly section I would highlight. At some point I'll have to get my cousin out and show you that walkthrough if people are interested in that, but I highlighted all across the week similarly to how I have it here, but just in the cousin. And then pink was general and family or whatever, and then each kid had one of these 3 colors, and so I would write in their activities that way. And then I wrote apparently a to-do list for that day. So it's kind of fun, but I only did that 1 week. And that pretty much takes me to the end of April. And so then I did use how I intended to use it, but just time constraints didn't always get around to it. On other weeks that I wouldn't be using because I had multiple books in one year, I would redate the week and date it to a current week that I was on, and my intention was to use it as prayer journaling and Bible reading journaling. So here I did well writing prayers that day, same with that week, but not consistently great. So then more blank. So when I look at it that way, it does feel wasteful of all the blank week pages, but I don't know. I know I could have 2 separate books, I could use the Sterling Ink Compact and keep that as a planner for the whole year, and then use a blank notebook as my journal. And I still toy with that idea. Trust me, I have a whole stack of planners next to me in the car here that I stare at and try to decide if I should switch, but I still like it in one book, so I struggle. And then for the actual journaling, I do what I do now, where I was doing mostly 2 pages per day. And sometimes it would be hard. I mixed it up a little bit there. You can see I would not use 2 full pages per day, and I just did a gray line to separate days. So that, I like that too, but I kind of like the consistency of the 2 pages per day. And I just think it looks pretty. And I was loving these bright fluorescent highlighters. They were the Sharpie highlighters, and they don't make these highlighters anymore. I'll have to get them out at some point and show you, and if anyone has seen them anywhere, that would be amazing, because I've looked all over Amazon and don't see them anymore, and I wonder if Sharpie just stopped making them, because they're very similar to their liquid highlighters, but they were just slightly different. They had a slightly different shape, and they weren't, I don't know why, it's probably the paper changed too, but they didn't bleed. Like, you can see, like, there's no bleed through at all, and that is probably mostly because of the paper. But yeah, it was really satisfying to get to the end of this book. And there's one of my kids was keeping soccer stats during his brother's soccer game, and he only, I think, made it for about 3 minutes. So this was really impressive for me to I know other parents are great at letting their kids write in there, and I should be, because it's really cute to look at now. I should let my kids write in my planner more because it's fun. But at the same time, I'm super obsessive about not letting anyone near my planners or pens or anything. So anyway, 1 page to that. But otherwise, I came to the complete end of this book for my first book of the year. And then I switched into a second one for the year, and I didn't bring that with. So that is a little walkthrough of how I used the Hobonichi Weeks last year. And I think I have 3 others for last year as well that go with it. And it's kind of funny because when I first found the Hobonichi Weeks, the reason I did not like it was because I didn't like the cream paper. And now I actually am missing the cream paper, and flipping through it, it tempts me to want to use it again. I absolutely love the gold edge of the sterling ink though. So it would, to me, be really fun, and maybe I'd change my mind if I saw it, but I think it would be fun if Sterling Ink had cream paper planners as well with the gold edging. And I know that's totally unrealistic because she already offers a very large number of planner options, which is amazing that she's able to do that many. So I'm not holding my breath or expecting at any point for her to add cream colored paper for her planner lineup. But it would be fun because, I don't know, is anyone else on board for cream paper? It's so funny that I really genuinely hated it. I hated it about the weeks. And now I miss it. Like, it really is slightly easier to see when I'm in my car so often or sitting outside at games. It's not as bright on my eyes. So I don't know. I go totally back and forth on the quotes at the bottom. Sometimes I really love them and think it's cute that they're there, and sometimes I really hate that they're there and it drives me crazy. But so I don't know. I could probably go either way. But yeah, it would be I would be very much on board if Sterling Ink had a cream colored paper with the gold edging. And because I also like this, you probably can't see it super well, but it just, you can tell it gets a little worn on the edge and kind of grungy looking, which being obsessive about my planners, I really only hold them and use them when my hands are clean, and like I don't really ever even have lotion on when I write in my planner. So I don't know, it's just the normal oils from your skin, I guess, that turn it. But and the other thing I was gonna say, now this video is getting to be way too long. I really didn't even think I could make a 5-minute video talking about this, but here I am at 20 minutes. I like the thinness of it too. And I know Sterling Ink has the compact, which is great, but it doesn't have as many pages. The Mega has almost 100 more pages than the Sterling Ink Compact, and so obviously with me wanting to keep my journal and my planner together, I need more pages, but I like that it's more condensed. But I don't know. So that's also, I also wanted to share how I used the Hobonichi Weeks, just to give a little visibility to how I was using it, but also to, I don't know, maybe help explain why I've commented on videos about still being so tempted by the Sterling Ink N2, because I just really loved the size last year of using the Hobonichi Weeks. And so I think I still gravitate towards that. But you know, then I hold this little guy, and he's so easy to hold and carry around, so who knows. That's how I use the Hobonichi Weeks. I need to look up what the 2026 offerings are, and I doubt they have the Sneaker Weeks colors out yet, but they always, I think they usually have had 2 colors per year. And so I'm curious what those will be for next year. Maybe that'll change my mind too of what to use for next year. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of cream paper. If you know of any other planners that have cream paper that also has the thin paper that is really nice to write on. So I hope everyone is doing well and enjoying their planning and journaling, and I hope you're able to make some time to journal. Thanks so much for watching, and I appreciate you being here and liking and subscribing if you enjoyed this content. See you next time.